Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar. You have reached the right place to learn how to people power your campaigns with online petitions. Today we're going to be talking about how to promote your campaign, how to pressure decision makers, how to generate media, grow your base, and to win your campaigns with the help of online petitions. My name is Lawrence Grodeska. I'm the Director of Nonprofit Community here at Change.org and got a great agenda of content for you. As I've mentioned, we're going to be talking about why you might want to use online petitions and what makes a winning petition. How do you craft your issue into a compelling petition that reaches out to new audiences? Some of the best practices for creating your petitions. We'll go through some tips and tricks for you. And we'll talk about finding your people power, how to promote your campaign through your petition, both on Change.org and outside. Finally, we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. And if you want to ask anything of me, please feel free to do so in the chat window on the left-hand side of your screen. There's a little chat box, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Want to make sure that we're giving you the knowledge you need to be effective with your online campaigns. And we'll save plenty of time at the end for questions. We'll have time as we go. And please share away. We'd love to hear from you. So, a little bit of background about Change.org. Change.org is the world's largest petition platform, and it's our mission to empower people everywhere to create the change they want to see. And this happens when people and organizations like yours create petitions about issues that they care about, and using those petitions to tell their stories and gather support for their cause in ways they maybe couldn't have access to before. And what we're doing is essentially providing a megaphone to hundreds of thousands of petition creators to find the support they need to move the needle on their issues. And that's resulted in the last few years in over 6,000 victories around the world. And today, there are over 50 million users in every country on Change.org, and they're engaging with all kinds of causes. Thousands of organizations, from community groups to international NGOs, are connecting with these passionate supporters, using Change.org's powerful campaigns tools to build their movements to make a difference. And all told, organizations on Change.org have collected over 85 million signatures around the world in the past few years, and we're really honored to see that incredible impact happening on our platform, all through online petitions. But of course, we didn't invent the petition. Petitions have been around for quite a long time, just like these gentlemen on the steps of a city hall somewhere in America. This is somewhere during the time of the Vietnam War, and these gentlemen are protesting some aspect of that war. Unfortunately, when I found this photo, I didn't find too much of a description of what it's about, but it really just goes to indicate how long petitions have been a part of the DNA of democracy. They're one of the oldest political tactics in the book, and just one form of collective action that organizations have used to gather support for their causes. Of course, you all know the different tactics well: lobbying, direct action, call-in days, letter writing, and marches and rallies. They've been around for a long time. But things have changed in the digital age. And whereas yesterday, if you convinced someone to take an action, all you really got was that one vote or that one phone call, or maybe that one signature on your paper petition. But today, with the internet, social media and mobile technology have created an unprecedented opportunity to increase the efficiency and impact of that time-proven model of collective action. So what was once one signature can now be 10 signatures, 100 signatures, as your supporters are empowered to share your message with their networks. And really, from what we've seen with all the activity on our site, the online petition is one of the most powerful tactics to harness the network effect of social media and the internet to tell the story of your campaign, to engage existing supporters and new supporters alike. And on Change.org, with over 25,000 petitions started every month, we see a lot of very powerful stories that are doing just that. Stories like Zach Wall's, pictured here, delivering hundreds of thousands of signatures asking the Boy Scouts of America to end their ban on gay scouts and leaders. This story is even bigger. Zach's organization, Scouts for Equality, other groups like GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, they created petitions as well asking the Boy Scouts of America to change this decade-old, century-old policy. And earlier in this year, we had some great news that these petitions were victorious, and the Boy Scouts of America decided finally to change this policy and to embrace openly gay youth in their organization. And this is just one of the incredible stories that we see every day on Change.org, all told through petitions, all that have had a real and tangible impact, just because someone or some group decided to take an action that turned into a landslide of collective action. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, how to make your petition reach out to those new folks to gather the support you need and to help your general online campaign. So change.org is the world's largest petition platform, and we empower individuals, but we're also here to empower organizations to build their movements using the innovative tools that we build to engage passionate supporters with their causes. We are a B Corporation, that's a social benefit corporation, but we're working to maximize impact instead of profit. And one of the primary ways we do this is by providing people power for your campaigns. And pictured here is a real loose diagram of how that works for some of our clients, like the Humane Society, like Oxfam, like the Human Rights Campaign. Zach Walls, pictured in the middle, creates a petition. He gets hundreds of thousands of people to sign his petition, and we're able to connect those signers with the organizations that need that help for their own campaigns, to further these issues, to take it in the long haul, to make lasting societal, institutional change. And that's really my first takeaway for today, is that online petitions are highly social and complement traditional advocacy tactics. That the work that you can do to support your campaign with an online petition is a really effective way to engage those new supporters that you're always looking for. And as far as that question I asked earlier about why you would want to use online petitions, there's a few benefits that I think that it's useful for you to know about when evaluating petitions as a tactic. First and foremost, petitions are a great way to find new supporters that care about your work. Essentially, when someone signs a petition, they're raising their hand to say, I care about this issue, I care about your work, I care about your organization. And oftentimes they want to learn more. So smart community organizers have turned online to use petitions to build community. I should also note that when you run a petition as an organization, you also have the ability to do some free email list building or list growth through our free petition tool. If a petition signer has checked the box to stay in touch with you and to join your email list, you actually can download their contact information and welcome them onto your email list as an organization, because we recognize that organizations over time really need to be building that support for the long-term fundraising and advocacy work that they do. And a question just came in from Jody that's, can your organization be running multiple petitions at the same time? And absolutely. We see some organizations doing state-by-state strategies. So they, in fact, the Freedom to Marry campaign has launched multiple state-based petitions targeting state legislators to adopt same-sex marriage policies or laws in those states, and it's been very effective. And we'll get into the targeting around petitions, which might influence how many petitions you run, because getting the right target for your petition is a critical part of making your petition effective. The other benefit that we see of petitions is that they actually are a great way to get additional cause awareness and even media coverage for your work. We hear from journalists that they love looking at change.org petitions, and they scour our site on a regular basis to see what people are talking about, to see how people are responding to issues, and even to pull quotes directly from the comments on petitions. So using a petition as part of your press outreach can be an effective strategy to add an online component to the stories that you see out there about your issue. And finally, went a little bit too far there. Finally, petitions are a really great way to start a dialogue with decision makers and to apply pressure on them to come around to seeing your rationale for making a specific change. When someone signs a petition on change.org, we send an email on their behalf to the decision maker that's listed on the petition. And once the decision maker starts to see that dozens, hundreds, thousands of people are signing this petition, that they stand up and they take notice. And this is pictured here, a petition delivery to an Apple store in New York City, coordinated with deliveries to other Apple stores asking for an ethical iPhone. Another way to apply great pressure on a decision maker to let them know just how much support your issue has. So let's get into some of the details about petition strategy. And when I think of petitions, I like to think about the story they tell, and in particular, I like to think of some of the aspects or characteristics of a good story. And so I say that winning petitions are dirty, and that's an acronym for dramatic, inspiring, relevant, and timely. So if you think about what causes us to take action, certainly drama or emotion gets us interested. We start to get investment in the issue at hand. Certainly something that's inspiring as well. I know that I always like to be involved in causes and campaigns that speak to my values for a better world, whatever they might be. And the last two, relevance and timeliness, these are important to speak to the specific individuals that would care about your cause. Why is an issue relevant to them? Try and tell your story within a frame that makes sense to their life and their day-to-day and their world. And try and tell it in a way that intersects with their lives and what's happening in the world right now. So talking about current events or maybe a cultural moment or an election season. These are all things that you can bring to your story that will make it more likely to cut through the noise and really engage new supporters that you're looking for. So I'd like to, through that lens, look at one example of a great petition that was run on our site a while ago. I think it was in the end of 2012. The Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy launched a petition on our site. The Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy is an international preservation organization based in Chicago and Chicago, Illinois, in the United States, if there's anyone out there joining us from abroad. And their mission is to preserve and maintain the remaining structures designed by the famed architect Frank Lloyd Wright. And over the years, they've done a lot of work, a lot of great traditional advocacy work, working with city councils, with developers, most of it behind the scenes, most of it's grassroots work, and they'd never used an online petition before. Until this house, the David and Gladys Wright house that's pictured right here, was threatened to be sold to a developer that wanted to split the property and raise the house and build condos. So this is a picture of the proposed rezoning that the city council in Arizona had approved. So seeing the momentum of this rezoning and the imminent threat to this home, this architectural heritage and piece of art to many people around the United States and around the world, the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy realized they needed to do something different to convince the Arizona City Council that there was a lot of public support to protect this home. So they decided to launch their first online petition on change.org. That petition is pictured right here, and it's asking the city of Phoenix to save the David and Gladys Wright house. And they initially shared this petition with their supporters through their email list and on their social media profiles, and got some great momentum initially because people really did care about this piece of architectural heritage from Frank Lloyd Wright. And as the petition took off and started to gain strong momentum of its own, news outlets that had covered the threat to this home started to pick up on the petition as well and added another inflection point in the story, another reason to report on the story again. And the coverage that the petition got was pretty incredible. The pictured here is the front page of the art and design section of the New York Times, and you can see the petition is called out in the second paragraph and with a direct link to the petition page itself. So this created a whole other round of signatures on the petition, engaging a whole new set of supporters for the work of Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy that may not have known of the organization in the first place, and really pushed the petition signature up to well over 25,000 signatures and became something that the Phoenix City Council couldn't ignore. Eventually, the Building Conservancy, along with local supporters on the ground, delivered the petition to a city council meeting, and pictured here are folks waiting to hear the city council's reaction to a motion to approve landmark and historic designation status for the Davis and Gladys Wright home. And this was successful. The Phoenix City Council said that the petition had really significantly altered the landscape, and it changed their perception of what should happen to this home and just how much support there was to preserve it. And pretty amazing to see an organization take up a new tactic like this and have some great success, and to really give new life to a campaign that was already long in the running. And I should mention that as I mentioned earlier, that people, as they were signing this petition, opted into the email list of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy. And I think out of, in the end, 28,000 signatures or so, close to 18,000 of those folks end up joining the email list of the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy, which was an incredible boon to them and a really great way to broaden their base of support for future campaigns. Not every petition will be that successful as far as email growth, and we do have opportunities for you to do specific and dedicated list growth through our platform, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But it's something to think about as far as a benefit for creating an online petition as an organization on change.org. So that leads to the next takeaway, is that as people, individuals on change.org are creating moments by starting petitions, by signing petitions, nonprofits are really using change.org to create movements over time, find the supporters they need to cultivate into long-term activists, advocates, and donors. And again, in reference to Jody's question, there's no reason that you can't create multiple petitions to highlight different facets of a campaign or to target specific people around the same issue in different locations. And that's really something that's really exciting for me to see, that that nonprofits are finding ways to support their long-term efforts through petitions on change.org. So let's talk about what does it mean to create an effective petition on change.org or any site, really. There's a couple things that you need to think about when you're creating your petition. And I just want to also stop here again and say that if you have any questions at all, especially going into this next section about petition strategy and tips and tricks and best practices, please feel free to drop a question into the chat window. Happy to answer them as we go. So when you are on change.org as an organization, when you click the Start a Petition button, you have 3 questions to answer initially. These 3 questions are the core of your petition strategy. And the questions are, whom do you want to petition, what do you want them to do, and why is this important? So I personally like to start with the second question first, of what do you want to do? And this is a really critical piece of not only your petition, but your overall campaign strategy. If you're thinking about your mission statement as an organization, you might have some very lofty goals that may take years to achieve, and honestly might not be achievable by your organization alone. Say you want to stop world hunger. This is a very noble and worthwhile goal for an organization. But on a campaign-by-campaign basis, we do need to recognize that one campaign, and certainly one petition, is not going to end world hunger. However, a smart campaigner and a smartly designed and strategized petition can start to take bit by bit actions to lead to that loftier goal. So we call this theory of change, a specific bit by bit approach to making the change that you want to see. Incremental change is the word I'm looking for. So when you're choosing your objective, find something that is discrete and achievable, something that actually you have influence over, or you know the people that have influence over. So an example here might be saving funding for a food bank in a certain city, or potentially making sure that certain populations within a city or a state have access to a government program. And this is something that a petition is well positioned to achieve. So choose an ask that is concrete and specific, and once you have that goal in mind, you can take a step backwards and ask who has the power to make that change. That might be, in this example, a elected official. It could be a governor. It could be a state lawmaker or a city official. It might be a corporation if your goal is different. It might be an individual. But think about the people that actually can make the change you want to see. And if you target them with your petition, then you're more likely to see the change in the end. And this is a case where the more specific you can be, the better. I would 99% of the time argue against, advise against listing President Obama as the decision maker on your petition, because that's just not smart, specific strategy. So once you have your goal, and once you know who can help you achieve that goal, you want to tell the story. That last question, why is this important? Take some time to run through the reasons that you feel this is an important change to make. Use references if you have them. Use all the knowledge that you have as an expert in this field to make a compelling case for people that are looking at this petition, because people on change.org really do want to know why this is an important issue that they should care about. They read, I should say, which we're ecstatic about. Scrolling down the page here, you'll see that as you add, I'm actually going to back up for a second. I want to note that there is a preview on the right-hand side, so that as you enter these questions or answer these questions, you'll see a preview of what your petition looks like. And after you've gotten these 3 questions answered, you want to hit save, and you'll be prompted to add a photo or a video. And a photo or video is another really key element of your petition. You want to choose something that's compelling, that really speaks to your issue and is captures the imagination and the attention of people that will be exposed to your petition, both on change.org and through social media profiles, through email, etc. If you have any video collateral that you've used, potentially video of a certain injustice that you're fighting against, that's a great thing to use as the visual element of your petition. But really key to do here is we've seen that petitions with images are 4 times more likely to reach a certain signature threshold, and that's just an important part of the story that you're telling. It's not just the words, it's the visual component that can be very compelling. Finally, on the bottom of the screen here, make sure that your organization is selected. If you haven't created an organization profile on change.org, you can do that right here. Create a new profile. This is important because this gives you that free benefit of list growth, of allowing individuals to opt into your email list as they sign. And once you have got that taken care of, you're almost ready to go, but I really recommend doing a couple more things. And once you've saved your petition, you want to go back to the Edit button, and that's at the top of the blue dashboard menu bar that you'll see on your petition page when you're logged into change.org. Click on Edit, and you'll be able to edit your petition title. By default, we give your petition title something that says decision maker name and ask. And that title format sometimes can be improved. And so you'll see here, I created a petition that says keep TVs off Oakland streets. This is a demonstration petition, but compared to the title that was there, which said something like Department of Public Works create a recycling program for electronic waste. This title is the new title that I've created here, shorter, a little bit snappier, a little bit catchier. So think about optimizing your title, because the title and the petition image are the primary way which most people will be exposed to your petition. So 2 very, very important elements to get right. And then scrolling down the page, I'd also really recommend you do a couple things as far as the people that you've targeted as decision makers on your petition. The first is to add their email address, and this is the thing that allows us to actually communicate with them when people are signing your petition. We can notify decision makers that people are signing, but only if you add an email address for them. And finally, you can add multiple decision makers that you're asking to help you make this change. It could be, as I mentioned, an individual or a corporation employee or staffer. It can be an elected official too, and we have an elected official tool that allows you to add elected officials on a federal and a state level, so that as people sign, they're actually signing and they're asking their specific elected official to make this change. And that's obviously better for federal level or state level targeted petitions. All right, and with that, you've got a petition that's ready to go. This is the final demonstration petition that I created here. You'll see it's got an image that really speaks to the issue at hand. It's got a tighter title, and we've optimized the decision makers that we're listing as the folks that we want to convince to make this change. So let's see. We got a question coming in here. And And there's a question about who to target for individuals that are falsely accused of child abuse. And they're having a problem figuring out exactly who to target for a petition. I think it probably is best to go down to the single case level if that's the kind of work that your organization is doing. If the service you provide is supporting individuals to help them or their families out of a legal situation, and that's your mission statement as an organization, then I would go on an individual by individual basis and target the individuals that are involved with that single petition. If your goal as an organization is to change policy around or raise awareness around this issue more broadly, then you might think about going a bit more broad at state level or maybe even the county level if there are laws that affect this legal issue there at that level. But it really needs to map back to your core objectives as an organization and to make sure it's worthwhile to feed into your higher level goals. If you'd like to follow up with me, I'll have my email on the screen at the end. Happy to talk to you more about it that way. And so thank you for the questions, Mark, and be happy to talk more towards the end or even offline via email. I guess email is online, but off the webinar. So in review, the best things you can do to get your petition ready to share and engaging the most people possible is this winning petition checklist. Finding an achievable ask, setting specific targeting for decision makers, and telling a compelling story, not only with the words and narrative, but also through a provocative image and engaging title. And if you do those things, then you're that much more likely to have a petition that's going to be effective, both engaging people and actually making a difference. So you've got your petition ready to go, and the next thing you need to do is start to distribute that petition and put it in front of the people that potentially want to support you and sign this petition. So I've got a couple of things up here that speak to the ways that you can start to promote your petition. Certainly using your email list is really important. Sharing on social media is a great way to get awareness. We see Facebook drives a few more signatures generally for us, but Twitter can be a great way to get press attention. For example, if you share your petition and tweet at certain celebrities or certain journalists, Twitter is a great venue for issue awareness in that regard. Talk to partners in the area or issue area that you're working in. There might be other organizations or activists or bloggers that might help you promote your petition. They care about your work and they want to see this petition be successful. So they can help expose your petition to other networks that you don't have direct access to. And finally, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you are doing press release work to get earned media, including a link in press releases to your petition is a really interesting tactic that we've seen be very successful both by our communications team here and by nonprofits that are using petitions on a regular basis. Because journalists just happen to want an online component to most stories, and they can gauge, they can get a good sense of what the public conversation is around an issue by going to an online petition. Another way to keep momentum going and to get your petition in the hands of other folks that might be outside of your existing supporter base is to ask people that sign to share your petition. And we have a tool that allows you to communicate with people that have signed your petition. If you see in the top of the blue bar here, there's a message tab, and this allows you to email your petition signers. When you have noteworthy moments in your petition timeline, maybe you get to 1,000 signatures, maybe someone, a high-profile signer, joins your campaign. These are great moments to reach out to your signers and let them know just how well the campaign is going. Or if you're maybe in a little bit of a rut and your decision maker hasn't responded, it could be a great way to ask signers to help you with another tactic, an escalation tactic like calling someone's office or showing up for an in-person rally. Signers really do want to hear about how how a petition is going and how a campaign is being successful. And so use this tool to talk with them, let them know how they can be more involved, and even ask them to either share the petition with their networks or to potentially join your email list. So this could be a good way for you to do additional list growth and get them engaged with your work in the longer term. There's also a way to add news updates to your petition on the petition page itself. So that could be another way to make your petition dynamic and to keep it interesting and engaging for folks. It's kind of like when you go to an online forum or a website and there's nothing there, and you're a little dubious as to whether or not this is a viable community online. Same thing with a petition. If you have notable news items or anything like that, add it to your petition as an update, and it just gives your petition a lot more life that attracts people. And now if you've been promoting your petition for some time and you've kind of plateaued out and you've been working your list and your network and talk to your allies, but you still need more signatures to make your point and to convince your decision maker, we do offer help promoting your petition to other audiences on change.org. It's a new feature we developed called Promoted Petitions, and once your petition has received 50 signatures, you have the ability to pay to promote your petition to other users on change.org that have been involved with similar issues in the past. And not only do you have that opportunity, but so do people that have signed your petition. So essentially, crowdfunding to get more exposure for your petition to the active signers that come to change.org. And you can see here in yellow, once your petition has reached 50 signatures, that promote this petition button will appear, and that's where you have the opportunity to chip in to display your petition to other users on change.org. It works a little something like this, pretty straightforward. Your petition reaches 50 signatures and it becomes eligible for promotion. At that point, someone looks at your petition, they sign it, and then they have the opportunity to chip in to your petition for promotion. If they do, step 2 here, that petition is shared with other people on change.org. They have the opportunity to sign it, and your petition gets the exposure it needs and the signatures it needs to convince your decision maker of all the public support you have. So this is another option we offer if you're looking for ways to increase your exposure through change.org to other networks of supporters. Now, if you're really interested in doing more longer-term community building and for ways to connect with people for not only this campaign, but beyond, for future campaigns, we have another service called Sponsored Campaigns, where we can promote your petition not only to get more signatures, but also asking supporters to opt into your email list. This is a paid service as well that uses a special targeting technology to make sure that you're connecting with only those supporters that are the most likely to engage with your cause. And we can do some really great targeting, not only based on issue and interest area, but also location and some basic demographic data. And that's really the key to our supporter acquisition model, that new supporters through change.org are demonstrated action takers. And we also can connect them with you to make sure that it's a great match right from the beginning. They came to change.org to take action on an issue they care about, and when they're joining your sponsored campaign, they're taking action on your behalf. So you're benefiting from our active, engaged, and responsive new supporters. And the new supporters that you can get through a sponsored campaign on change.org, I should mention, are 100% permission-based and guaranteed to be new to your list with active email addresses. And we also provide mailing address information for some of those folks that we have it for. It's generally around 70% of our users. But really the best thing about this service that our clients tell us all the time is that the targeting we can do and the passionate, engaged supporters on our platform really lead to the best results as far as advocacy asks and fundraising. And on change.org, our clients tell us that they see incredible open rates for the first message from change.org supporters, sometimes 30 to 40% higher than the industry average. Response rates from email, advocacy email on change.org, 5 times higher than industry average. And Change.org supporters, from the data we get from our clients, are 15% more likely to donate to a cause than the national average. So we're incredibly excited about this service. 80% of our clients come back. They find it very valuable. So I'll stop there, but if you want to learn more about the paid offerings we have to exposing your work to new audiences and cultivating new supporters over time, please follow up with me on email. And lastly, as you've been promoting your petition and engaging those new audiences, oftentimes you need to find that moment to really have the face-to-face conversation with a decision maker. And we really recommend having that face-to-face conversation, and a great way to do it can be through a petition delivery. Every petition has its moment in the sun. It's got a life cycle, and you might have hit a plateau. There's somewhat of an art to figuring out when the best time to do a petition delivery is. It could be around a certain media moment or a news event, but delivering signatures in person provides a great way to have that conversation with the decision maker and to potentially get media coverage. You can see here, this is hundreds of thousands of signatures. Actually, no, this is tens of thousands of signatures a few years back, delivered by a coalition of environmental organizations asking the Obama administration to not approve the Keystone XL pipeline. And it's just a moment where the conversation can be taken to a new level, and it's much harder to ignore when you're at someone's office with petitions in hand. Okay, so Kelly asked, if someone pays to promote your org's petition, do you get to see who that is as the org admin? We haven't opened that level of data up yet to org admins. But we are developing reporting features so that you can see how much has been contributed to your campaign over time. So this is a new feature. We're testing it. We're making sure it works really well, and we're adding new features and improving it over time. So that's on the way. But thanks for your question. And I'd like to wrap up with one more example, this time a client example of a really great campaign that was run on Change.org. And the campaign that I have in mind is a petition, a set of petitions that was run on Change.org a few years back around, actually in 2012, around climate change. And I think, as we all know, most scientists are in agreement that polar ice caps are melting faster than they thought we would. Seas are rising faster than we thought. There's more and more extreme weather events, and the real source of all of this is carbon emissions generated by humans. And seeing the need for immediate action on climate change, a host of environmental organizations have been working on strategies to move the needle. And knowing that 1/3 of the domestic source of carbon in the atmosphere comes from the energy sector, and a good portion of that, the greenhouse gas emissions from energy, comes from power plants, organizations have been targeting coal-burning power plants as a big, significant chunk of greenhouse gas emissions. And the strategy behind a lot of these campaigns is targeting the Environmental Protection Agency to use its authority under the Clean Air Act to regulate carbon emissions. And the EPA here in the United States did develop carbon standards in 2012, but there's a lot of pushback from folks that didn't believe in this course for the EPA, that wanted to see, that did not want to see these carbon pollution standards for power plants passed. And the environmental movement knew they needed to step up and make sure the voice of people that care about the environment and wanted to stop climate change was heard, and that the EPA responded to it. So a pretty incredible group of organizations came together and launched a nationwide set of campaigns in support of clean air protections. The goal was to submit as many public comments as possible in support of the proposed standards and ensure that the EPA heard from Americans that they wanted these proposed standards to be passed into law. And they came together, these organizations that you see here, under the auspices of the Partnership Project, and they work with Change.org as part of this campaign to generate those comments during the public comment period for the proposed carbon pollution standards. This is one of the petitions. You can see that it's appealing to a cute child and protecting our children and future generations. There's a host of petitions actually that were launched to gather to different communities on Change.org based on what their interests and values really were. So whether it was protecting children, whether it was protecting the environment, having clean air. You can see this next petition here is more specifically about global warming. These petitions were really effective. In the end, these petitions generated 1.4 million comments to the EPA in just a few months. And the environmental groups that were involved were ecstatic that they were able to get that kind of a speed and a scale of a response through Change.org. And they, just as we talked about before, had a petition delivery. In the end, along with other petitions and other campaigns, over 2 million comments were generated to support the carbon pollution standard. And it was really effective. Just this year, in fact, President Obama acknowledged the new standards and said that these standards are the way forward for the EPA, that they will be enacted to force limits around carbon dioxide emissions for new carbon power plants, new coal power plants, excuse me. And so this is an example of work that clients have done on our website to great effect. We saw the free petition that the Frank Lloyd Wright Building Conservancy created. So whether you're running a free petition, whether you're engaging with our amazing client services team to help run a sponsored campaign for more targeted long-term outreach, Change.org is really the platform where you can find people power you need to be successful. So we're going to wrap up here. I want to thank you for joining us. I do have time for additional questions, so please feel free to stay on the line and enter them into the chat window, and happy to talk more. We're always trying to give great content and educational material for you to be effective online. So I'm excited about a webinar we're hosting in January with Greenpeace USA about SMS campaigning and how to use text-to-donate campaigns, mobile outreach, all the cutting-edge ways that groups like Greenpeace are using to engage their supporters where they're at. So that's going to be a good one. I'll be following up this webinar with an email and a video of the presentation, and I'll include a link to this webinar if you'd like to join us again in January. And finally, if you have other thoughts that you'd like to share with me, or if you'd like to stay in touch with us and follow along as we share all the latest in nonprofit tech news, please feel free to join us at change.org/organizations, where we have a lot of content for folks like you that are doing great work online. We're also on the social web, on Twitter @changeorgs and facebook.com/changeorgs. And finally, my email is lawrence@change.org. So I will stop here and turn my attention towards some questions. If you do have to jump off the call, thank you for joining us. I hope that you got some good information that you can use tomorrow to start your petition. If not tomorrow, then maybe January after the holiday. But I do hope that we see you again online, and thanks for joining us.